Welcome to The Story of Us. I'm your host, Madison Reed, and today we're diving headfirst into one of the most contentious phenomena of our digital age, cancel culture. Over the next 30 minutes, we'll explore how this modern-day public square justice system operates, how quickly it can destroy lives, and why it might be fundamentally undermining the very principles of fairness we hold dear. Picture this. You're a successful musician, part of a folk rock band you helped build from the ground up. You read a book to better understand current events, tweet about it to your modest 300 followers, and within hours, your entire world implodes. This isn't fiction. This is exactly what happened to Winston Marshall of Mumford and Sons. Marshall, an autodidact with wide-ranging literary interests, was trying to understand the violent unrest sweeping through American cities. Living in London, he felt intellectually compelled to comprehend these distant yet impactful events. So he read Unmasked, Inside Antifa's Radical Plan to Destroy Democracy by Andy Ngo. His goal? Simple intellectual curiosity about events thousands of miles away. Then came the tweet that changed everything. Finally had the time to read your important book. You're a brave man. That's it. 24 words to 300 followers. But in our hyper-connected world, those 24 words became digital dynamite. The irony here is staggering. Marshall found himself labeled a fascist by people calling themselves anti-fascists, people who were using suppression and intimidation tactics that eerily resembled the very fascism they claimed to oppose. The irony cut even deeper for Marshall personally. 13 of his relatives perished in Holocaust concentration camps. As he put it, "My family knows the evils of fascism painfully well, to say the least. To call me a fascist was ludicrous beyond belief." But logic doesn't matter in the digital mob. The tormentors swarmed. They repeatedly altered his Wikipedia page. They created havoc wherever they could online. As Marshall described it, they just start swarming around you as much as they can. They weren't at my front door, but they were trying to cause as much havoc as they could online. What's truly chilling about Marshall's case is how it demonstrates the complete disproportionality of modern cancel culture. A mild tweet expressing appreciation for a book shouldn't spark a career-ending backlash. Yet Marshall's bandmates, his friends, everyone around him became hesitant to defend him against critics exhibiting moral absolutism, verging on fanaticism. Marshall later reflected that he failed to foresee that commenting on a book critical of the far left could be seen as an endorsement of the equally abhorrent far right. But should intellectual curiosity really require such careful political calculations? Should reading widely and sharing thoughts demand this level of strategic thinking? The answer reveals something deeply troubling about our current moment. We're living in an era where engaging with ideas, even critically, can be career suicide. Now, imagine if Marshall's story hadn't stayed contained to social media. What happens when traditional media picks up these digital mob narratives and amplifies them to millions? This is where cancel culture transforms from concerning to absolutely devastating. The phenomenon of cancel culture is troubling enough when confined to online communities, but when mainstream media becomes involved, the situation escalates exponentially. Despite valid criticisms that today's media can be partisan and biased, stories reported by traditional outlets still carry significant weight. When a well-known media organization reports on a topic, readers typically assume the allegations have some basis in truth. But here's what the public doesn't see: how quickly cancel culture campaigns can spread, completely bypassing the usual editorial checks and balances. The pressure to publish first, to capture those precious clicks and engagement metrics, often overrides the fundamental journalistic responsibility to verify and contextualize. Think about the editorial process that's supposed to protect us from misinformation. Editors work under immense pressure to approve substantial volumes of content promptly. They're often as overworked and understaffed as their journalists. In this environment, a digital mob's narrative can leap from fringe social media spaces into mainstream coverage before anyone has time to properly fact-check or provide crucial context. This creates a vicious cycle. The media amplification lends credibility to what might be a completely distorted narrative, which in turn generates more outrage, more coverage, and more damage to the target. Once that happens, containing the story becomes nearly impossible. The solution isn't censorship, it's accountability. When facing potential cancel culture coverage, it becomes vital to engage directly with journalists and editors. Appeal to their professional values. Request time to verify facts before publication. Remind media outlets that their own credibility is on the line. Media organizations need to remember that their responsibility extends beyond rapid reporting. Their long-term credibility depends on accuracy and fairness. They have the power to either fuel destructive mob dynamics or serve as a circuit breaker that prevents innocent people from having their lives destroyed. The media plays a pivotal role in either enabling or curbing cancel culture's worst effects. Changing the current trend requires media organizations to return to robust journalistic ethics, setting standards of professionalism and fairness that can help rebuild public trust in institutional integrity. But perhaps the most insidious aspect of cancel culture is how it fundamentally undermines one of our most sacred principles, the right to due process. This isn't just a legal concept, it's a cornerstone of civilized society. Jonathan Missner, managing partner at a prestigious Washington, D.C. law firm and a nearly 25-year veteran of Georgetown University Law Center, puts it bluntly. Our legal system, despite its imperfections, provides every individual the chance to present facts, engage in discovery, take depositions, offer testimony, and have their day in court. Cancel culture bypasses all of this, metaphorically skipping directly to sentencing. Think about what due process actually means. It's the principle that you're innocent until proven guilty. It's the right to face your accusers, to present evidence in your defense, to have an impartial jury evaluate the facts. These aren't just legal technicalities. They're hard-won protections against mob rule that took centuries to develop. Cancel culture obliterates all of this. It operates as weaponized bullying that can destroy businesses, personal relationships, financial opportunities, and the ability to defend oneself. There's no discovery period, no chance to present exculpatory evidence, no impartial jury, just a mob that's already made up its mind. Missner's law partner, Philip O'Byrne, draws a stark contrast between legitimate judicial trials, where jurors are chosen for their impartiality, and trial by mob, which lacks any systemic controls or fairness mechanisms. Those engaging in public cancellations typically consist of individuals who've already reached their conclusions and have little interest in examining new evidence. They're seeking confirmation, not truth. This represents a fundamental corruption of justice. In a real trial, you have emotionally neutral jurors carefully examining evidence. In cancel culture, you have emotionally charged individuals operating with fragmented facts and biased perceptions. The difference isn't just procedural, it's the difference between justice and vengeance. The challenge for anyone facing cancellation is proving a negative, disproving accusations in an environment where the accusation itself is treated as evidence of guilt. How do you defend yourself when the mob has already decided your fate? But sometimes, rarely, but sometimes, people do fight back and win. The Johnny Depp case offers a fascinating glimpse into how someone can navigate cancel culture and ultimately emerge victorious, though the journey is neither easy nor guaranteed. Depp's saga began with a marriage that lasted just 15 months. When Amber Heard filed for divorce in 2015, she accused him of physical abuse, accusations he vehemently denied. A $7 million settlement seemed to close the chapter, but it was really just the beginning. In December 2018, amid the flourishing Me Too movement, Heard wrote an op-ed for the Washington Post. She didn't explicitly name Depp, but identified herself as a representative of domestic abuse victims. For Depp, this was the final straw. He watched his professional opportunities evaporate as Hollywood distanced itself from him. He was, effectively, canceled. Here's where Depp's story becomes unique. Instead of accepting cancellation, he fought back through the legal system. In 2019, he initiated a $50 million defamation lawsuit against Heard. It was a massive gamble. Defamation cases are notoriously difficult to win, especially for public figures. First came a case in the UK against the Sun newspaper, which had labeled him an abusive spouse. That case drew massive media attention, but ended in defeat for Depp. The court ruled against him, and his appeal was rejected. Most people would have given up. Depp doubled down. The Virginia trial in April 2022 became something unprecedented. A cancel culture case turned into public entertainment. The courthouse filled with adoring Depp fans brandishing homemade signs, desperate to show their support. Inside, dramatic testimony fueled content across mainstream media and social platforms, especially TikTok. The online arena became a battleground between Team Johnny and Team Amber, with Depp significantly gaining more support. This grassroots groundswell became crucial. Public opinion began shifting in real time as people watched the proceedings and formed their own judgments. What made Depp's case special wasn't just that he won legally, it's that he managed to reverse his cancellation through a combination of legal strategy and authentic public engagement. The trial allowed people to see unfiltered testimony, to evaluate credibility for themselves, rather than relying on media interpretations or social media narratives. Depp's resurrection demonstrates that cancel culture isn't necessarily permanent, but fighting it requires enormous resources, unwavering determination, and often a significant amount of luck. Not everyone has Depp's financial means or star power to wage such a battle. If you think cancel culture is limited to individuals, think again. The phenomenon has expanded to target entire nations, with Israel serving as perhaps the most prominent example of how an entire country can be subjected to delegitimization campaigns. This isn't simply criticism of specific policies. Every nation deserves scrutiny and criticism. This is something far more fundamental. Efforts to deny Israel's right to exist as the nation-state of the Jewish people. The campaign manifests in various ways, from cartographic representations that literally erase Israel from maps, replacing it with Palestine, to ideological pressure requiring people to oppose Israel's very existence to maintain their progressive credentials. To align with certain interpretations of woke ideology, individuals are expected to reject Zionism, which is simply support for Israel as the Jewish people's nation-state. This rejection often comes without any requirement to understand the complex history involved or to propose viable alternatives. The intersectional nature of modern progressive movements has created a peculiar situation where Zionism is viewed as incompatible with various left-wing causes. Israel gets portrayed as an embodiment of white privilege, despite its incredibly diverse population, representing multiple races, ethnicities, and religions. Support for Israel is framed as irreconcilable with feminist values, environmental concerns, and social justice, creating an ideological purity test that brooks no dissent. Prominent progressive figures like Peter Beinart have advocated for dissolving Israel as a nation-state, suggesting a binational, bi-religious state encompassing Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza. While this might sound idealistic, it ignores the disastrous historical precedents of such arrangements. Consider Yugoslavia under Tito, an attempt to unify diverse ethnicities and religious groups that ended in genocide and fragmentation. Or Lebanon, where power sharing between Muslims and Christians has resulted in ongoing strife and significant Christian emigration. The partition of India and Pakistan after severe conflicts offers another cautionary tale about the challenges of maintaining unity amid religious and ethnic divisions. Yet proponents of the one-state solution cherry-pick examples like Northern Ireland and South Africa while ignoring these failures. Northern Ireland involves populations sharing ethnic similarities with decreasing religious differences due to secularization. South Africa's situation involved minority white control over a large black population. Neither scenario closely parallels the Israeli-Palestinian situation. The cancellation of Israel represents cancel culture's expansion beyond individual accountability into the realm of international relations and historical revisionism. It demonstrates how quickly complex geopolitical situations can be reduced to simplistic moral narratives that allow no room for nuance or competing claims to legitimacy. So, where does this leave us? Cancel culture thrives in environments where institutions abdicate their responsibility to fairness and accuracy. Media organizations that prioritize speed over truth, academic institutions that reward conformity over inquiry, and social platforms that amplify outrage over understanding all contribute to this toxic dynamic. The solution isn't to eliminate accountability. People should face consequences for genuinely harmful actions. Rather, we need to restore proportionality, due process, and the presumption of good faith. We need media outlets committed to accuracy over engagement, institutions that protect intellectual freedom, and individuals brave enough to defend fairness even when it's unpopular. Most importantly, we need to recognize that cancel culture represents a choice. We can choose to engage with complexity rather than demanding simplicity. We can choose to extend grace rather than seeking destruction. We can choose to build bridges rather than burning them. But where does this leave us? Is cancel culture more than just public ostracization? Should we openly withdraw everyone and everything that's being canceled, or should we show them support? And most importantly, what's the role of social media in the wide spectrum of cancel culture? Fret not, as we're here to answer all these, and more. Visit the Skoob app now to get an exclusive insight on everything under the sun about cancel culture. Download the app now from App Store or Play Store to get the full access to the story for free. Thanks for joining me on The Story of Us. Until next time, keep thinking critically, stay curious, and remember, in a world demanding conformity, independent thought becomes a revolutionary act